go right into criminal investigations, or did you?
No, ma'am. At first, I was a patrol level supervisor. I supervised a administrator. Then in 2011 is when I moved into investigations.
When did you, when you went into criminal investigations, did you have any training to do that job?
Up to that point, I take a class here and there, advanced training classes. But when I got moved into the position, I took several classes to further my education in that position.
What kinds of things did you learn as to become a criminal investigator?
Crime scene techniques, interviews and interrogations, death and injury investigation classes, traffic homicide classes, went to New Detectives Academy, several of them.
And these were courses that were offered both within Volusia County and other schools as well?
Right, I went to several within the state.
Well, when did you become are you currently the acting internal affairs investigator?
Yes, ma'am. When the previous internal affairs investigator resigned, I was asked to step in, kind of keep the ship sailing.
Okay, so they asked you to fill that role until it was permanently filled, is that what you said? Did you at that time, or since that time, take any kind of special training to do internal affairs investigations?
Yes, ma'am. I had to take a specialized class in conducting Florida internal affairs investigations on Florida officers, background investigations, and FDLE officer discipline.
Can you just tell the board, because they've heard the words internal affairs investigation a lot, can you just tell them a little bit about what that generally has to do with?
It has to do with employee misconduct. It's specific to sworn officers as it relates. There's specific laws that the state allows, rights that are granted to police officers and corrections officers. And they have to be aware of those rights while conducting the investigation.
During an internal affairs investigation, if an employee is represented by an attorney, what's your understanding of how that impacts your doing your job, doing the actual internal investigation? Are you allowed to have contact with the employee or not?
Well, yes, as long as the employee is still employed by the county, I am allowed to have contact. I'm not allowed to interrogate the person on as questions specific to the investigation, but I am allowed to contact them for scheduling reasons. Request, if I have a request for them, just as long as I'm not speaking about the investigation, but I'm not interrogating, not asking questions pertinent to that, because that would be, those things have to be recorded, and he has the right to have counsel present or representative present, those types of things.
Are you familiar with the county's social media policy?
I am.
Copy of it, or do you want me to?
I have.
What is your understanding of this policy?
The way that I understand it is that an employee's conduct online, social media, Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, there's any number of dozens of them, but your conduct can be observed, and you're still representing the county when you're acting in this capacity, because a large portion of the public can't view these things. It's on the internet. There's no erasing it, pretty much what it comes down to.
Does it address sort of general types of inappropriate conduct at all?
Yes. And, I mean, it pretty much means that you're responsible for your online content, prohibits anything that affects the efficiency of county service. And that can affect the way that your division or you perform your responsibilities in that position. You can't post anything that contributes to a hostile work environment. Pretty much any of the rules that apply to us while we're doing our job apply to us.
When this policy was instituted, were you, as an employee of Volusia County, made aware of it and asked to sign that you had received
Yes,
copies?
ma'am. As far as I'm aware, anybody that's a county employee has to sign this document and acknowledge the policy.
I'm going to ask you to admit a copy of the policy and evidence.
I would ask you on your higher motion.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you do have to ask you on Mr. Rose.
media policy that was issued by the county?
Yes, it is.
Just mark it as, county one, please.
I would object to that. That's an improper authentication process.
Well, I don't have to take your word for that. I'm not really sure what the proper authentication process is.
Generally, the rules of evidence and authentication are not, as you
Hang on,
know.
I have an expert here.
There you do.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
You let your expert tell you.
This is an court law, so you don't have to follow the procedures, so whether or not it would be appropriate to be introduced in court. Question is there any dispute regarding whether that's the actual policy?
Is there a dispute as to whether that's the actual policy?
Maybe if I'm not given an opportunity to watch Mr. Rose on that.
I'm not sure what that answer was.
How about this? I'll go ahead and rule it one, then you go ahead and proceed with yours.
Okay. Captain Vanis, at this time, I want to direct your attention to the internal affairs investigation of Captain Todd Snipes. Please tell the board how you initially became involved in this case.
I would kindly ask that the witnesses read the statement, that he identified the statement for the record that he is
I'm looking at my report just to verify the date, sir.
Okay, and can you give us the title of that report, please, sir, the date was, you wrote it?
This is case number IA 2013-06318, Captain Michael Snipes, Volusia County Division of Beach Safety, to address to Director Rankin.
Okay, do you have a date for that, sir?
Dated August 1st, 2013.
And is it sworn, with your signature at the bottom, indicating you have violated section 112, 532 of the Florida statutes?
It is indeed.
Thank you.
Okay. If you would, please tell the board how you first became involved in the Snipes investigation.
On July 16th, I was contacted by Director Swanson, and he had received information that there were several text messages that he thought may be inappropriate sent by Captain Snipes to several people. He wanted me to follow up on that information and give the person that gave this information to get the pictures and the content of the text message so that he can review and determine if there was, in fact, any kind of violation.
So what did you do?
I met with the person that provided him this information, and
Who was that?
Scott Allen.
Who is Scott Allen?
He's a retired beach safety supervisor.
Beach safety supervisor, I'm sorry.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you met with Mr. Dowling, and what did he provide you with?
He provided me with screenshots from his phone of the text message thread that was initiated by Captain Snipes.
Did he also provide you with the Facebook post?
He did. He provided me with Facebook post.
Yes. What did you do after you received the text messages and the Facebook post? Or tell us, how did you take those from Mr. Dowling, just so we understand, because they were on his phone, correct?
Correct.
How did you get those off the phone? What did you do?
He emailed it to me.
You emailed them to you from
The
his
picture from his phone.
Okay. And, I'm gonna show these to you.
Thank you.
And first, I'm gonna ask you if you recognize that document.
These are the screenshots from Mr. Downs.
And ask if you recognize this document, so I'm just saying what this.
Okay. This is the Captain Snipes Facebook.
So after you obtained this information from Mr. Dowling, what did you do?
I reported this information back to Director Swanson.
And did he give you any direction at that time?
He wanted me to prepare a timeline on the actual postings, the Facebook posted that same day, so it could have been, I wasn't sure if he was on duty or off duty, because it was that Sunday, he came into work at 1, so I wasn't sure when that was.
So the Facebook post, did you ultimately determine by something else in the Facebook posting that whether or not he had been on duty when he posted the Facebook comment?
Yes, ma'am. The next day, looking at his Facebook page as opposed to just the screenshot on the phone, I could see that there was a comment made after he had made the posting on Facebook by another Facebook user. And that was timestamped at 12:58 on that day. So that told me that the Facebook post was before he was on duty. He wasn't on duty when he made the Facebook post.
Did you also try to determine whether or not Mr. Snipes used his personal cell phone or his county cell phone in initiating that group text message?
Yes, ma'am. I tried to. I retrieved the phone records, the county issued phone records, and provided to Verizon Bill. It's an itemized list of phone records, and Captain Snipes has issued a county cell phone. However, there were no incoming or outgoing phone calls on his phone, and it appeared that he didn't use his county phone. His personal cell phone number appeared on several other people's phones as incoming and outgoing numbers. So that told me that he used his personal phone for county business.
And did he ultimately admit to you that he does use his personal cell phone for county business?
Yes, he did.
Is that unusual for a county employee to have a county-issued cell phone but use his or her own personal phone for county business?
I don't think it's recommended, but it's not unusual. There are several people that do use their personal phone.
After you met with Mr. Swanson and did the things he asked you to do, were you at some point directed by Mr. Reckenwald to initiate or to open an internal investigation?
Yes, sir.
And just to be clear, the decision as to whether to open an internal investigation or conduct one is not your decision, is it?
No, ma'am, I need to be directed by a superior.
So you're just the worker that actually does the investigation?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you responsible, once you're told to open an investigation, for notifying the subject officer that they are the subject of an internal investigation?
Yes, I am.
How do you do that?
In person with a signed receipt that they know, they understand that they are under investigation. I provide them a copy of their officer's bill of rights. I provide them a guarantee advisement, which is another form of rights that they're afforded. And I can answer any questions they have, not pertaining, procedural questions they have.
So you give them a written notice that they sign for saying that it advises them you're under internal investigation?
Yes,
Did you do that in this case?
I did.
Was Mr. Snipes also placed on administrative leave with pay by Director Reckenwald when the IA was initiated?
Yes, ma'am. I also delivered a notice of administrative leave at the same time. Mr. Snipes, or Captain Snipes.
When you conduct an internal investigation in general terms, what, as you've been through the training to be an IA investigator and you've done IA investigations, what is your focus in an internal investigation?
My focus is the alleged misconduct. I want to either verify that it did occur or verify that it didn't. I'm looking at the conduct, I'm looking at the employment.
You're trying to get to the truth?
Absolutely the truth.
And in doing so, do you determine who should be interviewed or who should not be interviewed necessarily? What witnesses you should take statements from?
I do determine.
And how do you make that decision?
Based on who can provide the most information, who can provide information that can verify the truth of the situation.
Okay. And what kind of subpoena power or authority to give orders do you have to order somebody to give you a sworn statement?
I only have the authority to order somebody to give a statement if they're a county employee. Anybody that's not employed by the county, obviously, I don't have subpoena power. I can't force their testimony in this kind of situation.
In this particular case, did you interview certain witnesses?
I did.
And who did you interview in this case?
I interviewed Captain Michael Blair, Officer Russell St. John, and Officer Tom Taylor.
And who are those people?
They are beach safety employees that received the text message.
They were in the group text?
They were shown as recipients of the group text message.
Why didn't you interview the other 5 or so people that received the group text, or received or were involved in sending some of the text?
For one, I knew I think I had any valuable information to gain from him. By interviewing our employees, I can verify that the text was indeed sent. And that's pretty much all I needed to know about that. Their involvement otherwise is not pertinent to this conduct investigation.
Did the three county and beach employees that you interviewed tell you that they had received that initial text that you see in the trail there, picture quality, that they had received it from Captain Snipes?
Yes.
So did you feel that there was any relevant information that any of the other people, that you could have forced them to be interviewed, could give you?
Anything they were going to tell me the same thing?
Did you take a sworn statement from Scott Dowling?
No, I did not.
Now, he was the one that brought this information to Mr. Swanson. Why did you decide or choose not to interview him under oath?
Mr. Dowling provided the information. He didn't want to be involved. He wanted to remain anonymous throughout the whole thing. He was simply providing the information based upon previous incidents on the beach that were really bad for the beach department and the community. He wanted to save the beach department embarrassment. He wanted to give the administration a chance to address the violation before it became public knowledge.
Did he express concern to you about media? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, media was his main concern. He didn't want the department to be embarrassed by another scandal incident.
Okay, Captain Nance, you wanted to remain anonymous. Okay, so what? I mean, why did you feel that either you weren't able to interview him or it wasn't necessary for you to take a sworn statement from him? Did you have the ability to order him?
I had, at the time, he's a retired employee. He doesn't work here. I have no ability to order him to speak to me. He didn't want to be a planet. He was an informant. He was providing information. It didn't seem like he cared which way it went. He just wanted us to have the opportunity to address it.
Was he a recipient of the text message?
He was.
The initial text message from Snipes?
He was a recipient.
Okay. And let me ask you this, if at any time during your investigation you felt that you needed to, or there was other information Mr. Dowling could have provided to you with regards to Mr. Snipes' conduct, would you have tried to reach out to him?
I absolutely would have tried, but there's no guarantee. I can't, like I said, I can't force him to do anything. I can't subpoena him. I can't order him to interview with me.
So at the end of the day, if he didn't want to cooperate, you couldn't make him cooperate, could you? Did you ultimately interview Mr. Snipes?
I did.
And what did he admit to you during that interview?
He admitted that he did indeed start the text thread with the first picture. He responded to a couple other pictures that were sent by other people in the thread. He sent the final picture back. He also admitted that he made a Facebook post.
Did you determine as part of your investigation whether any of the other beach employees that had received the text message from Mr. Snipes were subordinates of his or lesser rank than him?
Yes, ma'am. Officer Russell St. John and Officer Texter are both subordinates of Captain Snipes, the captain of the bar.
Did either one of those, or did either one of those subordinates actually work directly for Mr. Snipes?
Officer St. John worked directly for Captain Snipes. He was directly for Captain Snipes. He was responsible for his timekeeping records, his evaluations.
When you took the sworn statement from Mr. Snipes, was his attorney present for that interview?
It was.
And did you find Mr. Snipes to be cooperative and forthcoming with you in the interview?
Mr. Snipes, yes.
Did he appear to be in fear of you or in any way intimidated by you?
No.
How long have you known him?
I'd say approximately 15 years.
I want to show, and you worked with him during that time, obviously.
Yes.
About how many sworn officers are there in beach patrol? If you know,
About 45.
it's kind of a small group.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to get the exhibits to pull up, starting with Facebook. When you interviewed Mr. Let me just read it back now. Don't want the lights on. identify, can you see it? You need to stand up. As part of your internal investigation, when you interviewed him, did you, Mr. Snipes, did you show him this?
I did.
And what did he tell you about that Facebook post?
That he had made the post, and that he didn't believe he was on duty at the time that he made the post, because he normally didn't post to Facebook while he was on duty. And I asked him what it was referring to, and he said it was referring to Trayvon Martin.
So the comments and other thugs on, pull up your pants and act respectful, bye-bye thug, R.I.P., he told you was in reference to Trayvon Martin?
Yes.
Do you recall the timing of the Facebook post with respect to the verdict in the George Zimmerman case?
The Facebook posting was made the Sunday after the George Zimmerman verdict had been read Saturday night.
Go ahead, Maureen, please. Did you also ask him about the group text message beginning with the top, no, that's not the first word. It's 4A. You ask him about this first picture here of Paula Dean and the comment below it.
I did. Captain Snipes told me that he originated the group text message with this picture. He sent this picture to several people that received this text.
Did you ask him whether he had, where he had gotten the photo, if you recall?
I believe he got it through a Google search. He found it on the internet, or he was sent it by somebody else.
So he admitted to you that he had initiated that group text message with that photo?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If you could just scroll down to the next photo, please. What did he tell you about, we see a phone number there, what did he tell you about that phone number in that photo?
He told me that he did not send that picture that somebody else had, and returned his transcript.
Well, you don't need to identify the name or anything. What I want to know is, so when a group text message is sent like that, and one person in the group responds to the original text or the initial text, does that go to everyone in the group?
Everybody that was in that original group, that the text message goes out to, say it goes out to 10 people, those same 10 people receive every text that comes to that when you reply to that text message, and everybody gets the same response.
Okay. Can you scroll down, please? Go to the next one. No, there's one in between, I believe. Could you please tell the board what this reference here, this LOL, what did he tell you about that?
LOL, it's abbreviation for laugh out loud.
Did he tell you that he had posted that LOL to the photo of the Trayvon Martin caricature with the "These skills were to die for"?
He did, he posted that as a response message.
And what about the next photo? He did not send that photo, correct?
No, ma'am, he did not send that.
Okay, and then we see the screenshot on the phone goes to the next day, Monday, July 15th, 2013, at 4:28 p.m. Did you determine that whether or not Mr. Snipes was on duty at that time?
He was on duty.
And he did not send that photo, correct?
No, ma'am, he did not.
Okay. Very good. So that's that comment underneath that picture of the women in the jury, whatever that depicts. Mr. Snipes didn't put George Zimmerman jury, correct?
No, ma'am. That came along with the picture.
Okay. So on Monday afternoon at 4, whatever time, 4:30, the first picture was someone else reinitiated the text, is that what?
Right, they sent that picture and went on duty.
Okay. And then Mr. Snipes responded to that photo?
LOL.
And would he have been on duty at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
And then the final picture, what appears to be, I would say darker skinned George Zimmerman, and I don't know what the other photo is. Did Mr. Snipes send that photo?
He did.
So after receiving the board member jury photo and sort of things getting started back up, he responds to the one and then sends the last picture, is that correct?
That's correct.
And did he admit to you that he was on duty when he initiated the first group text?
He did. He did admit that he was on duty while he sent the first text message.
When he started the text message thread?
Yes.
Thank you. During your investigation, with regards to the Facebook post, did you determine how many friends he had on Facebook?
By looking at his Facebook page, he had 336 Facebook friends. Those were people that were able to view his Facebook page. He had his page set so that only friends could come in.
Sorry, I'm not sure here. Can you explain to the board what that means when someone has, what the friends on Facebook mean?
The way Captain Snipes had his Facebook page set up, his posts were only visible to his friends. The people that he determined were his Facebook friends, so of those 336 people, they were the only ones that could view his page and view his comments on his page.
Do you know when something is posted on Facebook, can it be copied and sent outside? I mean, could someone take that posting and send it to someone else, or do you know?
I'm not sure.
No, Facebook.
Not on Facebook.
In reviewing the, during the interview of Mr. Snipes, did he tell you whether or not his 336 friends on Facebook, were they all county employees, some county employees, some subordinates? What did you find?
He said it was a mixture of all the above. It was employees, former employees, friends, friends of friends.
Did he give you any explanation as to why he had posted that message on Facebook and started that text thread?
He said they were sent as a joke.
Did he admit to you whether or not, or did he tell you whether he thought they were offensive?
He did agree that they were offensive.
What about racist?
And racist. He did agree to that. He agreed that they were racist comments or pictures.
Did you, I'm sorry, did you ask him if he felt like if others in the public, general public saw those, if they would be considered, might be considered offensive or racist? Did you ask him about that?
I did, and he conceded that, yes, the public would consider them racist and offensive.
And did you have any conversation with him, or did you ask him in the interview about the timing of his actions?
I asked him if he considered the timing divisive and inflammatory, considering the George W. where it was just read and then, not so many words, but I didn't say, but, I asked him if it was divisive and inflammatory, and he agreed that it was, considering the timing of the events.
So did you think it was poor judgment on his part ultimately?
Yes.
That's all I have at this time.
It's here. Captain Vance, unfortunately, part of the process when we do cross-examination is you have to sort of jump around a little bit in terms of subject matter.
Okay.
So the questions that I'm getting ready to ask you, I'm not trying to trip you up or trip you up or anything like that. If you don't understand my question, sir, please let me know. I take no offense to it. If you need one of my questions repeated, I'll do my very best. Although I don't have the best memory in the world, but I will do my best. Okay. Please let the record reflect. I'm showing County Attorney a copy of your actual IA report that was provided to me from the county, sir. Do you have a copy of that with you?
I do.
Okay, please feel free to refer to it throughout my questioning. Although if you are referring to it, meaning that you're not referring to something that you have committed to memory, would you kindly let me know?
I'll try to remember that, but sure.
Thanks. Okay. I mean, let's go to the very back. That is your signature, sir?
Yes, sir.
And it's dated August 1st, 2013.
Yes, sir.
And it says, concluding statement, unless otherwise directed, this investigation is considered closed and is submitted for review and action as deemed appropriate. The original attachments of interviews and other documents pertaining to this investigation remain on file with the Internal Affairs Unit. I, and with quotation mark, I, the undersigned, do hereby swear under penalty of perjury that to the best of my personal knowledge, information, and belief, I have not knowingly or willfully deprived or allowed another to deprive the subject of the investigation of any of the rights contained in sections 112.532 and 112.533 Florida statute.
Yes, sir.
And that's your signature? Yes, sir. And as we sit here today, do you stand by that oath that you took here, sir?
I do.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now, can we put up the LOL picture, please? I don't know if I'm supposed to go to you or tab 4A. And while we're looking for that, I'll go ahead and ask the same question, ask these questions.
First LOL or the second LOL?
Either one. Elementary. Are you familiar with this picture?
Yes, sir.
This was one of the pictures that Mr. Snipes sent out to 9 people. Is that correct, sir?
Sounds good. Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there any reference to Trayvon Martin here from Mr. Snipes?
No, sir.
Is there a picture of Trayvon Martin here?
No, sir.
Any LOL? Any comment like that?
No, sir.
So is sending out a picture of George Zimmerman and someone who none of us know who it is, does that violate the county's code of ethics?
That depends on the context of who's viewing.
Okay, well then let's look at the policies that you cited to in your report. Where does that violate the county policy? You've got it in your report. The provisions of the policies that you cited to.
Are you citing one particular policy or?
Well, you cited to 4 policies that you believe, after your internal investigation, that you put in your report that you believe my client violated. Correct, sir?
Correct.
Okay. Tell me how this picture sent by my client violates any one of those policies.
It can be perceived that the young white male to the left of George Zimmerman there is Trayvon Martin, and pictures a caricature of a darker than normal George Zimmerman, and a young white male is kind of reversing the roles of the situation.
Okay. Ms. Jones. No members. Okay, now I want to be very clear. Did Mr. Snipes send this?
He did not send that picture.
Okay. That was sent by one of the other 9 people?
Correct.
Do you know who it was? Who sent this picture?
It was sent by phone number 386-212-6999.
Is that Mr. Snipes' home? It could be his home, right? Obviously, it's text. Any cell phone number associated with Mr. Snipes?
No, sir.
And are you finding fault with Mr. Snipes for this picture?
No, sir.
Okay. Ms. Jones. Are you familiar with this picture, Captain Ramos?
I am, sir.
And was this picture sent to the 9 people?
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay. Was this sent by Captain Snipes?
No, it wasn't.
And this is a picture of, it looks like Paula Dean, 8 times maybe. Does this picture say Seminole County Courtroom? Does it say Trayvon Martin?
No, sir.
Does it say George Zimmerman?
No, sir.
Quite frankly, it could be any courtroom. How does that violate the ethics that you cited to, the county's policies that you cited to in your report?
I'm just gonna object, that's sort of taken out of context, because the actual screenshot does have a caption under it that says George Zimmerman jury, so you're showing him just the photo and not the screenshot, so I prefer that you rely on the actual screenshot from the phone.
Did Snipes make that comment, George Zimmerman Jerry?
No, you did not.
So he made the comment, LOL, nice.
Correct.
And that violates the county's policies as far as you're concerned.
I think it shows board discretion, sir.
Thank you. Okay, sir, let's go back to your report. Like I said, please feel free.
Can the lights back on, or?
No, we're gonna have more pictures to look at. That's my plan so far. Okay. So, we've established now, and actually it says on the top of your report, sir, page 2, it says, the person giving this information to Director Swanson wished to remain anonymous. Who is that anonymous person?
Scott Dowd.
Okay, why didn't you identify Scott Dowd and not allow him to remain anonymous?
I didn't feel that I needed to.
Well,
And he wished to remain anonymous.
I understand, but do you feel under the statutes that you've already signed that you were obeying, Police Law Officers Bill of Rights, do you think you had the right to keep him anonymous?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Okay, let's take a look.
I'm going to continue to object to the relevance. We're looking again at the same Bill of Rights, Chapter 112. I'd say, again, it's not relevant to your findings of fact or your decision as to the appropriateness of the penalty in this case. It's something that has a provision for remedy if there's a Bill of Rights violation. You can certainly ask him if he interviewed somebody and why he did or didn't interview him, but whether or not it was a violation of the Bill of Rights is not for this board's determination. And I would encourage you to ask Mr. Mandel if you have any questions regarding your jurisdiction with regards to that.
Absolutely. Ms. Jones, with all due respect, asked several questions about who he chose to interview and why he only chose 3 people to interview. What we're trying to show here, and as well as the charging affidavit, which is basically his internal investigation report, says that he complied with this. The fact is he did. And I'm not trying to say that he broke the law, but I'm trying to impeach him for some of the testimony. But she's the one who's been given all, Ms. Jones rather, is the one who asked all about the interview process and why he chose to interview the people that he chose. In addition to the fact where this is leading up to is, he said that he didn't feel the need to take a sworn statement from Scott Dowd. Well, one, I'm getting ready to ask him, well, if somebody comes forth with this information, why would they want to remain anonymous? Doesn't it go to their credibility as a witness, their insistence that they remain anonymous and then not give a sworn statement? The fact is, Scott Dowd has never given a sworn statement about any of this.
May I respond? First of all, I'll defer to Mr. Mandel as to this issue, but I believe that the courts have held that even if there was a violation of the Bill of Rights, which I'm not conceding, that does not provide any basis for overturning discipline by this board. In opening statement, the reason I asked the questions that I asked about who was interviewed and why the others weren't is because in opening statement, Mr. Haar indicated that that was an issue. So I wanted to follow up with Captain Banis on that. But at the end of the day, it's our position that none of that's relevant anyway because his client admitted what he did. So what would it matter if the reporting party said Captain Snipes stood on the roof and did it or had any other information or facts? If he wasn't charged with those and he hadn't admitted those and he wasn't disciplined for those other facts, they're not relevant and you don't need to hear from that witness, and he didn't need to interview that witness.
Well, yeah, there's nothing on the determination regarding the Bill of Rights that I can see. I'm not sure where you're going with it either. I think you made your point that you wanted to make. Can you continue with that line of question?
Okay. You interviewed John Texter?
Yes, sir.
Did John Texter turn in, John Texter was one of the 9 who received texts?
Yes, sir.
Did John Texter turn those texts into his superiors?
He did not.
Did he say why?
I don't believe he did say why.
Did John Texter say in his sworn statement he found the text racist?
Excuse me, with all due respect, Mr. Har, I wonder if you could dismiss, like, the search question.
question, sir.
Did John Texter, in his sworn statement to you, tell you that the texts were racist?
I don't believe he did.
Okay. You took the sworn statement of one of the other witnesses who received the initial text, an officer by the name of Russell St. John. Is that true, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did Russell St. John turn those texts in?
No, sir.
To his superiors? Did Russell St. John say in his testify under oath that he found the text offensive and or racist?
No, he did not. He told me that he was not.
Okay. Now, you asked that also of Michael Berard.
I did.
Now, these are all acting county employees.
Yes, sir.
And, okay, so let's talk about Michael Berard. Did Michael Berard turn the text into his superiors?
He did not.
Okay. Did he testify to you when you took a sworn statement that he found the text racist?
He felt they're inappropriate, given the timing.
Okay, I understand inappropriate, sir.
But that's, no, he
Because
didn't say.
the policy that you put in there has to do with making ethnic racist remarks. And none of the three witnesses that you took during your internal investigation testified that the texts sent by my client were either racist or in some way derogatory ethnically, correct?
Correct.
Now, you also state further on in your report, and actually, before we do that, let's talk about the fourth statement. Try to be a little bit more fluid here.
Okay.
You did take a statement of, sworn statement of my client, and you testified when Ms. Jones asked you, they seemed comfortable, he seemed okay, he didn't seem threatened. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, sir. Did you wear a sport coat to that statement?
I don't recall. I may have.
Okay. Did you wear a gun that was in plain view to the statement?
I may have.
You did, didn't you, sir?
I don't recall if it was in view or if it wasn't.
I didn't ask you about
Sometimes
that.
I wear it on my ankle, sometimes I don't.
I asked you about
I'm
the
going to
gun.
object to the relevance of what Captain Snipes wore to his interview, to the interview of Mr.
This is Captain Vance.
I'm sorry, excuse me, I misspoke. I'm going to object to the questioning regarding the relevance of what Captain Vance wore when he interviewed Captain Snipes.
Yeah, absolutely. He testified that my client wasn't threatened, didn't feel uncomfortable. He was being questioned by somebody who had a gun on his holster to take a sworn statement.
Threat was
Can I
not.
respond? I mean, I've worked with Captain Snipes for 15 years. 9 of those years, I've been a sworn officer, and I've worn a gun around Captain Snipes, as he has worn a gun around me for the last 9 years. The last 2 years, I've been assigned to investigations. As an investigator, I'm in plain clothes, wearing a gun and a badge on my hip. I don't recall if I was or wasn't. Mr. Har saying I was, I'm sure I was.
Okay.
But that's part of my uniform, and he has been around me.
Well, you're in plain clothes today. Could you stand up, please, sir?
Sir.
Got a gun on?
No, sir, I do not. That's the
So you wore a gun in plain clothes that day, but you don't wear your gun today?
The chief judge says I can't wear a gun inside this courthouse.
Chief judge says that a law enforcement officer is not allowed to wear a gun in this. Who's the chief judge?
That a plain clothes officer is not allowed to wear an
Who's
officer.
the judge?
I'm not sure.
Chief judge? Now, you testified that you didn't think Scott Dowling would give you a sworn statement?
Scott Dowling didn't want to give me a sworn statement. He wanted to remain anonymous.
Okay, did he tell you why he wanted to remain anonymous?
Because he has a lot of friends that will get me cheap and he considered talking around him. To jeopardize that.
So how did he think that, did he think that he would be able to go through this entire process without disclosing who the informant was?
I think that was his hope.
That was his hope? Okay. And do you believe that the Sunshine Law protects his anonymity also?
No, I'm not sure.
Let's talk now about the Facebook page. Did Scott Dowling show you a Facebook page?
He showed me a screenshot. Yes, sir.
Okay, he showed you, tell me, and panel members, please, exactly what Scott Dowling showed you. From Facebook, pardon me.
From Facebook, he showed. It was on a picture of this, but it was a picture of the comment on Facebook.
Do you know Scott Dowling is actually a friend of Mr. Captain Snipes, such that he could go on to Mr. Snipes' Facebook page?
I don't believe he was.
He said, how did he get access to Mr. Snipes' Facebook page and give it to you? Did you take any steps or instruct anyone to try and go on to Mr. Snipes' Facebook page and pull postings off of it?
Yes.
Who did you instruct to do that?
I logged on to another coworker's Facebook page. He logged on for me.
You had a coworker log on. You logged on as someone else.
No, somebody logged in on as themselves.
Okay, who was that?
Kristen Pinsky.
Who?
Kristen Pinsky.
Why didn't you put that in your report, sir?
I didn't feel it was burning.
When you met with Scott Dowling, you met behind closed doors in your office, didn't you?
No, sir, I did not.
Sure about that?
Yeah.
Why haven't you made any notes in your IA file whatsoever about any discussions you've had with Scott Dowling?
What are you asking?
What I'm asking you, sir, is why is the Mr. Snipes IA investigative file that you created? Let me do this. This is what you gave us the morning of Mr. Snipes' sworn statement. Yes, absolutely. Okay, well, I'll have Captain Minutes authenticated. I have no problem with that. Panel members, may I approach the witness?
Was they been taken out of there?
Absolutely not. No, we've, do you read, take a look at what I provided you, sir. Are you familiar with that binder?
Looks like the binder that I provided you at the end.
Okay,
Are you fine?
and this is your IA file, sir?
Yes, sir.
And this was provided to my client the morning of his sworn statement in front of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are there any notes from you whatsoever regarding interviews that you conducted that weren't sworn statements?
No, sir.
Why not?
Didn't take any notes.
Okay, so when you met, did you ever speak to Scott Dowling?
I didn't.
How many times did you speak to Scott Dowling?
Remember being the morning I was notified of the incident?
I'm sorry, sir?
One time.
Okay, when was that?
Date was verifying a month. July 16th.
And you didn't take any notes?
No, sir.
Okay. Who else did you meet with regarding this? Now, one of the former employees of Volusia County who received this text was Eric Holt. You know who Eric Holt is?
I know.
Yeah, I mean, Eric and I went to elementary school together. Why didn't you reach out to Mr. Holt?
I didn't feel his testimony would provide anything good or bad.
How did you know that?
What's he going to testify to? Other than he either received the text or he didn't.
Well, I mean, in terms of showing whether or not somebody received the text, which is, you believe,
And otherwise, he's not an employee. I'm not investigating misconduct on his behalf. So I didn't see any evidence to be gained by interviewing him.
now, you instructed, wait, actually have cell phone records from other employees of the county in here? But you didn't write down any, but you didn't feel the need to put in your investigative report that you instructed another employee to log into Captain Snipes' Facebook page? You didn't feel to make a note of that anywhere in your report? Why not? Do you think government has the right to do that under the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution? Against illegal search and seizure?
Objection.
I withdraw. I apologize, I withdraw.
The employee logged on, there was no illegal search.
The employee was instructed to log